Hello, Simon. Let me adjust this here. Okay, so I had some time to be able to get this done for you. The nice thing about doing this, because the case was good, I didn't have to really worry about the problems with your other movement or any of that other kind of stuff. I could just sort of dig into it, which was nice. Let's see if I can get this set where I want it. Okay, so it was it was amazing. It was astonishing. The work, if you want to call it that, that these Philippines junk dealers do, it'd be simpler and easier and cheaper for them just to use real parts. I couldn't believe what I found when I finally stripped the watch case apart. The case itself was fine. It's perfectly fine. But how they basically they didn't have they using these junk watches, they did some crazy stuff. I don't know why people in the Philippines do this stuff. Why they don't just use the correct original parts. It's a mystery to me. Rather than using correct parts, they used completely wrong parts for some absolutely unknown reason. I don't know why. So the buttons sit inside the case, and they're held around the movement by a thing called the movement ring, which is that's the bad one. This is a good, correct, original movement ring for this model. This is what was in your watch. It's some weird, bastardized, homemade piece of crap. I don't know how they got this. I don't know if they milled it themselves or got it from another watch model. I have no idea, but it doesn't work. One of the things it doesn't do is it doesn't hold the buttons. The buttons are meant to be held in place by these notches. These notches are supposed to hold the tips of the buttons in place. Let's see if I can find a different button for you. Here's a basic chronograph. Wow. No, it's running away. This is a basic chronograph button. See that little flat thing on the end? That little flat thing on the end is supposed to slot into this hole right here and get caught. So it can't come back out because there's supposed to be a spring, one of these springs right here, and it goes in and out and in and out, and it catches right there. Well, they had made this weird, bastardized, my life, this weird bastardized ring with these huge gaps in here that wouldn't hold anything. So the buttons would basically be in danger of just popping right out of the case. So what they did, also, they didn't have these springs. These are the springs. Normally there wouldn't be two together like this. Just imagine there's one spring there. They would have those springs would go around the button so that it is pushed back out when you push it to actuate, which is just a pretty simple thing. So they didn't have a way to keep the button in the watch, and they didn't have a spring to push it back out. That is what the assembly is supposed to look like. So what they did is they put the buttons in your case, and then they wrapped the tips of each button. They wrapped around the inside of the thing with these seals. They just wrapped them around and around and around like they were rubber bands so that the button couldn't pull out, and it acted like this weird crude spring. It's the craziest thing. I've never seen anything like it. Also, the movement ring spring was missing. There's supposed to be a circular spring that sits in this gap that provides cushioning and tension to hold the movement firmly. They didn't have that. What they used was a piece of mainspring. This is a snapped off bit of a mainspring. They just kind of jammed in there. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Mind-blowingly crappy work. That's not all. The movement, of course, this is your old movement. It's completely non-functional. And they didn't even have the right dial ring. This is a dial ring for a completely different 6831 model. This is supposed to be sitting out here. So again, they used this partially to kind of soak up that extra space, but it's just like worst possible work I've ever seen. I don't even know why they bother. Why it would take a little bit of time, find the right parts, do the decent job. I don't know why they don't do this. It's an absolute mystery to me. Okay, this watch is done. There it is. God, would you focus? When you are stopping, I strongly recommend, by the way, always keeping the chronograph running on these. Always do that. These watches have a specific component called a chronograph wheel. This thing has a teeny tiny mechanical clutch in it. If you knew what you were looking at right there, you would see there are actually little clutch plates inside here. And when you stop the chronograph right here, those plates are separated and the spring inside the clutch is put under tension. If that spring ever fails, the chronograph wheel is bad. So we don't ever want to compress those springs if we can possibly avoid it. You always want to leave this running, okay? The other thing is, when you stop and reset these watches, you want to minimize the reset force. So this big main sweep hand, wait until it's right about there. A few minutes right after top dead center, because it's going to reset up to here. You want to have as little force as possible. So there, we can go now, and there it is. But leave it running. When it's running, when these things are running, the chronograph wheel is turning top and bottom in jewels. It has a jewel that's spinning on the bottom, and it's sitting in a ring jewel on the top. Spinning in jewels, less wear. When it is stopped, this clutch plate is separated, and this wheel is turning independently. You can see this is a bad component. See how that's spinning just by itself? That's what is happening when the chronograph wheel is stopped. And that is metal on metal. And you don't want metal on metal. So leave it running. Leave it running. And if you have to stop and reset it, wait until this main sweep hand is right about here. Okay, I've got your bracelet here. It came with it. That's new. So it's going to go with the newly polished case. But it's now good inside and out. It is a huge blessing, again, that the sealing surfaces on this case were good. That's great. But, you've fallen on your feet. So this will be a good one for you. Enjoy it. Okay. Thank you, Simon. Bye-bye.